Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco number 7241 TK1-26D. This is a standard turn-knob mortise cylinder. However, while it might be standard, it certainly isn't common, meaning the length. It's quite excessive in its length. It's 1.5 inches in length, which would mean that this would probably be something used on at least a 2-inch thick door, maybe a 2.25-inch thick door. It's 1.5 inches in length. Mortise cylinders are measured from the underside of the head of the cylinder, the scalp plate, to the back of the cam, 1.5 inches. Okay. Now, where you would use this, anywhere where you needed a mortise style cylinder that was actuated via a thumb turn and that had a standard cam. That's the 1 in the part number. Well, the TK1, it's the 1 in the part number. This is otherwise an 863G cam standard. Probably where you're going to use this cylinder is when you have a thick door, 2-inch, maybe 2.25, and that you have an old mortise lock, something from the 1940s or 1930s or 1920s or 1880s, okay? Literally. Probably from, pre-World War II era, in that range. You will see, like in Chicago, you're going to see a huge quantity of installed mortise locks in apartment buildings on the northwest side of Chicago, on the north side of Chicago, south side too. I just happen to have grown up on the north side, so I'm more familiar with it. You've got these mortise locks that were put in when the building was built in 1919. No exaggeration. And those locks still work. 100 years later, literally the locks still work. But what they want to do now is take the key off the inside. They want to put a thumb turn. Now, why this could work in that scenario is because you will very often have thick doors that you see with a longer cylinder, but you will see standard cams. And those old style mortise locks, they would take a cylinder equipped with the standard cam. The shape of this cam is what we would call standard. This all equates to specific dimensional properties, but if someone says I need a standard cam, that differentiates it from this many other possible cams. They mean something that's going to look this shape or incredibly close to it. Other things that use standard cams would be generic pieces of hardware like an alarm switch, like a bypass for an alarm, exit device that would have an alarm would take a standard cam. Key switches will take that sort of standard cam. Old mortise locks. There are probably variants of the Baldwin style cam. While it's not standard, you could probably easily manipulate this into being compatible with most Baldwin functions. Baldwin would not be considered a standard cam, even though it's quite close. So generic applications will take a standard cam, but probably a thumb turn is probably going to be an old style mortise lock, would be my guess. Don't know what the client, I'm looking at the client's address here. I don't know what they'll be using it on, but I would expect to see it there. The 7241 means it's a mortise cylinder. It means it is a thumb turn cylinder, and it also means it's 1.5 inches. They will supply you with lots of lengths. 7/8, 15/16, 1 inch, 1.1 inches, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. Bigger sizes as well. You get past 1.5 inches, and that's going to be difficult to get your hands on in terms of it being stock. But 1.5 inches by Kaba Ilco would be stock in both a 26D and also a -46, a satin chrome, and then a dark brown color, a Duracolor brown they call it. If you were to take that TK1 and make it into a TK2, you get the number 2 cam. That's an Adams Wright cam. That's an 863A. That would be not unusual because you could have aluminum storefront hardware that needs a mortise thumb turn that is for 2.25-inch door thickness. There are 2.25-inch thick aluminum doors. They're not common, but they are out there. So you could possibly use it there. Then there are all these other cams that you could make this work into this. They have a couple of dozen cams themselves. If you were doing a proprietary Kaba Ilco other deadbolt that takes mortise cylinders, In a single cylinder, they'll have a thumb turn, like with a scalp plate and a thumb turn. But you could also run a mortise cylinder to make it a double cylinder, or a single cylinder with a mortise thumb turn. If you had a door that was, say, 2 3/4 thick, yeah, you could possibly need a cylinder that is going to be that length. I'm not doing the math in my head, but regardless. Now, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Kaba Ilco products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the brass cylinder catalog from Kaba Ilco and several other documents. Old versions of the catalogs, namely their key blank catalog. They have an exhaustive document showing all the profiles of the key blanks that they manufacture, at least as per the publication date of when it was last published. It's got to be 5 years old by now. Lots of manuals for their key machines. Kaba Ilco does a lot with key cutting equipment as well. But that brass cylinder catalog is where you're going to find the 7241 and all of its variants. And by the way, that scratched surface you see, that's just the peel away protective film on that face of that cylinder. They're going to be able to supply you with brass base mortise cylinders, rim cylinders, key and knob, key and lever, deadbolt style composite cylinders. They have a couple of different keyways. They have a couple of dozen keyways that they can do. You know, the common Corbin, Yale, Weiser, Falcon, Dexter, Kwikset, Arrow, Schlage, etc. It goes on and on. Finishes as well. They can do lots of different finishes. I may have been saying that they can do lots of different finishes as well. They can. They can do custom configurations on their cylinders. If you want the factory to do some key work for you, they can easily do that. We do all that here as well, naturally. That catalog is handy to the brass cylinder because it will allow you to review all of that stuff and then perhaps other items that you didn't know Kaba Ilco offers, such as we were talking about old mortise locks. They actually sell some old rim locks. They're not old. They are a pattern after rim locks that would have been seen probably for sure from the 19th century. So a scroll through their catalog would be helpful and handy, I think, for you. And then, of course, they have relatively new storefront hardware. Push paddles, lock bodies, things of that nature. So if you need aluminum storefront hardware, locking hardware, they may be able to help you because Kaba Ilco goes along with that product when it comes to cylinders. It's my opinion that you should not use the cylinders sent from the aluminum door manufacturer, solely because, well, two reasons immediately come to mind. Who knows what those are bidded to or keyed to? It's probably only a relatively generic number of key combinations that those keys are actually cut to. Number two, a lot of the time that material is made of zinc. And while zinc is a very good material to make certain things from or into, it's not nearly as superior as an architectural base material like brass. As a result, Kaba Ilco not only is able to, but they do hold incredibly high tolerances, giving the ultimate end user an incredibly smooth experience when it comes to working their hardware. Translation, putting the key in and working it, and it works perfectly. And that's why I think the most important reason is that you use Kaba Ilco, because dollar for dollar, it's the highest quality cylinder that's available given the cost. The utility is what's highest. And plus also I like their tech support gentleman. He is phenomenal. Every time he suffers my questions is the bottom line, and I do appreciate that. If you have any questions on the Kaba Ilco, this is their part number 7241. TK1 in a 2060 finish or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.